Okay. There is definitely a future here. The problem is where you're meeting at. I think that for you, you're not as quick as this person, all emotional on their side, all emotional. With the Three of Wands being the overall, we're talking about looking at the long term. What are we expecting in terms of this relationship? But it's also about waiting for something to happen here before you start acting. But it's about, furthering things with the relationship. So I look at this as a way forward, but there are some things that are going to have to be dealt with here looking at future conditions. And this person is going to have to figure out, how to be independent here. I think that that's what that's about. But let's start from the beginning. Temperance and the Nine of Cups. Immediately what I got from this was, you're cool, you're collected, it's not that big of a deal, but for them, I want this. I want this. They want to be involved with you, absolutely. They're focused on, wanting to have that emotional fulfillment, wanting to have what is going to make them happy. The problem is that they're not being very realistic. And the way that the communication is coming out is very harsh and wrong. This is extremely misunderstanding each other. Now, there may be fighting because they're not being realistic or practical with the moon. That, or they have mixed emotions, and that may cause a problem for you. And you, I think, knew this, which is why you're kind of coming in with temperance. Like, you may want this now, but I know you, and it may cause a problem later, and that may be where, we're looking at the Five of Swords, right? And things being said that, are meant to hurt, right? Like, I see this as a really, difficult thing happening here. But the thing is you're having problems with letting that go. And they're showing a lot of, I think, regret here and feeling really bad about things, looking at the Five of Cups on their side. But also we're talking about disappointment and feeling like the relationship has been lost. And a lot of that is because, you're not, it's just, you can't let it go. You're not willing to just yet. And I understand, especially if somebody has, tried to confuse you. You say you want me, but then you're doing this. I don't understand. But I do think that they feel bad about it later on. Now, for some of you that's fine and all, but I still look at there is still potential for this. And I think that they start to get better control over themselves in the way that they're feeling. It's interesting. Judgment, though, coming out means that you're going to have to look at this and let it be, right? This is really about laying that shit to rest. Review it and let it go. There's no point in continuing to hang on to it if you want to have this relationship continue. But with the Nine of Pentacles, right, I think that they need to kind of figure out how to, be a little bit more independent and not so, emotional about things, but a little bit more realistic. But I also look at this as you wanting to remain independent, though, as well. Now, this may be the issue, though, is that they want to be involved, but they want to stay independent. And I don't think that that's what you thought, because with the moon here, it's not real. It's not clear. But they know, I think that they know that they did something wrong here, right? And emotionally, they may be in a really screwed up place, but the way that they acted, I think, is why you're like, I'm going to have a hard time letting this go, which is understandable. But I do look at the King of Cups and think that this is somebody who's trying to get control over, their emotional issues, their problems with, I want this, I don't want this. I want this, I don't want this. Is there a future? Is there a future here? But I look at this in the middle of the both of you and I think, well, before anything can move forward, maybe we just need to kind of do our own thing for a minute, But for you, you're definitely going to have to let this go. You have to let it go. And then the Eight of Cups. They realize, I think that they realize that they have been putting a little bit too much into, you know, some things that they clearly need to move on from. But the way that I'm seeing this is somebody who is willing to, you know, do what's necessary. So here's where I'm at. In order for you to kind of like lay all of this to rest, you are speaking up about what you're not going to deal with. For them, they're saying, okay, I'm willing to get control over myself and do what's necessary here with the Eight of Pentacles. That may be creating some new emotions for you, or wanting to, you know, kind of like restart, you know, but there's definitely some things that you are feeling here. And with the Hierophant, for them, they're wanting to commit. They're wanting, you know, the traditional relationship. But you also understand that you may be dealing with somebody who is emotionally like naive almost, or immature. But with the Two of Wands, for you, you could act on this if you wanted to, but you need to see something first. I think that's where this is coming through. You know, and then for them, I worry though that with the Eight of Cups, they kind of look at this and go, well, I've done everything that I can. Maybe it's time to move on. Especially if you're not really willing to act just yet, because there are still some things that, you know, you're carrying and dealing with directly involving this person in the way that they've acted. You know, but I look at this as them really wanting to do what's necessary here and everything that you're telling them. And I think that there is a part of you that knows that, you know, there is a possibility that they may not, you know, do that. They may kind of flip-flop on their emotions, but the thing is they're looking at, you know, commitment here with the Hierophant. I really see that as, you know, I want to do what's right. I want to do, you know, what's expected of me here with this relationship, because I'm wanting this commitment. But you don't act though. So they may feel like it's time for them to move on. Especially if they're continuing to carry guilt, which is possible. It's interesting because a lot of times you don't see situations where people actually feel bad about what they've done, you know, but I'm kind of getting that here, right? So I'm like wanting to give this person the benefit of the doubt, but there's potential for a future, but it's all up to you, Sag. It really is. It's going to be up to you on whether or not you're willing to let go of what may have happened. So needing to be clear on what you want here, but the minute that you get clear, it looks like things go in a very good direction here, but we will clarify one more time. The Magician. This is about somebody who is wanting to make something happen within the relationship. With the Knight of Wands, you're talking about passion, unbridled passion, right? It really doesn't matter what happens in the future. But the thing is that after this, you're showing the Hierophant with the Ten of Swords. This is a commitment coming to an end in a very painful and difficult way. You know, the Hierophant in this deck specifically talks about spiritual support for a relationship. But a lot of people do look at this as the narcissist. I mean, you know, looking at the card, right? Which I can understand, you know, because the Hierophant being the conduit between man and God, you know, and somebody who thinks that they have the right to, you know, tell people how to live their lives. You know, in a way, somebody who is trying to take control. But I don't know, I don't really see that there. But what's interesting to me is that even after there being, you know, like the Ten of Swords and having this really difficult, painful ending, you move into the Nine of Cups, where there is happiness, and then you have the Sun. For some of you, you may have gotten involved with a situation a little bit too quickly with somebody who didn't follow through. They may have been a narcissist. They may have been somebody who didn't want to commit, but it ultimately leads to what you've been wanting all along. That's kind of how I look at this. Because the Nine of Cups and the Sun, this is happy love, good connection, beautiful, so much happiness. And with the Sun, you know, it's the sun shining on this relationship, it being perfect for you. It's exactly what you wanted. But only after having dealt with something extremely difficult here. And then, geez, Sag, the hell is going on? Oh my goodness. You know, but when I look at the Nine of Cups and the Sun, though, with the Tower being there, I think that that may have been the issue. And I think that that may be something that is over with now. The only thing that I would warn is you dealing with any kind of like, you know, lingering jealousy, so to speak, because there may have been this deceit. But the thing is that I look at Judgment and I think, you know, seriously, there's something that you're going to have to let go of. Judgment is saying that this is a good relationship. So for a lot of you, you know, there may not have been a lot of thought about, you know, getting back involved with a person. Because the Three of Cups, I need to slow down for a minute. Let me take a breath. Okay. There is definitely a situation here where somebody did not stick to the commitment that they have made to you, but there is this kind of like getting back together and the mending of a broken heart. There wasn't really a lot of thought about the action that was being taken. This is somebody who is wanting to make something happen within a relationship, possibly dealing with somebody who is constantly like in and out. But with Judgment, this is saying that this is a good relationship. It's about blowing stagnation away from a relationship here. You know, because there is a reason why the two of you are together or, you know, should be working things out here. And that is what you're trying to do out of a really bad ending. But there could be another person involved here. The thing is what I worry about is like lingering issues here with the Tower. I don't necessarily think that this is something that is going to continue, but you could be dealing with somebody who is jealous, or you're still dealing with jealousy, or we're getting over deceit and jealousy, because these two are perfect together. That may be the circumstances that could continue to affect the relationship, which is why you need to be clear on what you expect moving forward. And then the Seven of Swords. All right, so here is what I think is going on. I think that you're dealing with a person here who like easily gets distracted when things are routine, when things, I don't want to say become boring, but that may be how they're perceiving it, or this could be about you. Okay. So first you come in with the Emperor and with the King of Swords. This is about somebody who's full of passion, full of drive. You know, with the Emperor, yeah, we could be talking about somebody who was older than you. It could be a male. But really, for me, when I look at the Emperor with this deck, it's somebody who is just full of all of this, like, you know, masculine energy, passion, and the want to, you know, experience something. The King of Swords, though, is talking about somebody who doesn't feel anything. That's what I don't like about him with this. It's not about emotions. It's not about having an emotional connection. It has nothing to do with feelings. Then you move into this place with the Four of Swords where there is an attempt to try to make a connection, but it can't be forced. Somebody's not feeling it. You can't make something happen here, and that's because with the Four of Cups, you're talking about the routine in the relationship. It's the same shit every day. Nothing exciting is happening within the relationship. Nothing new is happening, and you're losing the connection here. But what I don't like is the fact that if we're talking about somebody who has addictions, it may be addictive patterns when it comes to wanting to have passion. The Page of Swords, this is somebody who is definitely instigating in the relationship, but the fault here is that somebody is entertaining another person who doesn't need to be involved here. That's how I'm seeing this, but it's causing like this separation between you and the person that you're dealing with, because you're not talking, you're not connecting anymore at this point. And you may be dealing with somebody who's so full of passion and drive that they don't even care about the emotions anymore, because everything is just blah, that they're willing to entertain something else. And then the Star. So, you know, there is a reason, though, to hope that there can be healing in this situation. So I don't necessarily see them actually following through with this, you or the other person here. The Seven of Pentacles is talking about getting lazy. Somebody who's just lazy and giving up. And they're not putting in enough effort anymore. And with the Four of Pentacles, it's just not enough. There's not enough passion. There's not enough of, you know, the connection that's happening. Everything is just like, ugh. You know, and it kills me because you have all these fours sitting here, which would suggest that there is a chance for stability, but it's just not happening, right? Somebody needs to try harder. They need to try harder to make this relationship work or get the passion back going and get out of this funk and stop allowing, you know, an outside influence here to cause such a separation between the two of you. But with the Star, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that the situation can be fixed. You know, but it could be also because of somebody's addictions that things kind of like go to this place of, I'm not interested anymore. You know, but I'm looking at that Star and I'm looking at that and hoping that there will be healing of these issues, but there needs to be some kind of communication and truth spoken here coming out.